triple dive composition. You have your Tryndamere, you have your Viego, you have the Ahri. There's triple resets here as well with the Viego, Jinx, and the Ahri composition. So if they can just pick off one kill at the start of the team fight, they should be able to snowball through the entire thing. And if you look on the other side for Frank Esports, this is a pretty difficult comp to pilot. It's very slow to get off the ground, especially with the Victor, and you also have to pick your moments with the Meganar. So I just feel like the comp from DCG, it has ease of execution, and it is so much stronger in the early mid portions of the game. It allows them to snowball much easier.
And that's really what suits Deep Cross too, right? Because when we've critiqued this team, it is not necessarily the compositions they pick, but how well they're able to execute them. Ease of execution gives them a lot of versatility, gives them a lot of fallback if they need it. They do have a timer, of course, as you mentioned, even before the draft, that typically Frank Esports are going to play for the later stages of the game. That Victor, that Aphelios is going to be a big part of it, but we'll see how well Holo can hold on early and help the lanes out. We'll also see what Kurt can do in this top lane matchup. See if maybe he was taking some notes from Hanabi as well. But as we get underway, no major surprises in the ways of the summoner spells or our runes. 2 glacial augments down on the bottom side as well. Definitely expect to be seeing some players button heads down there. I do think that, while Criscott has been a big hotshot, Eminem has kind of been the consistent player. He's definitely one of our candidates for top 2, top 3 AD carries. I feel like you can't say number 1 because Unified is just that much better than everybody, but all the same, still very, very solid.
If I'm really thinking about it, I feel like the trifecta for me definitely is Wako, Unified, and Eminem being thrown into the mix right here.
Where do you put Shun in there? That's I wonder.
Oh, Shun is so good as well, but I really want to see a little bit more out of his play. I think he's been allowed to just kind of play Xayah the entire way through, so I do want to see him on a couple more patches before I make a hard decision. But, you know, generally I think the veterans do fill in quite nicely, and I would say Criscata, Shun definitely filling out kind of that tier 2 just behind them. Looking at the meta, the matchups right here, I do want to point out, you picked this up already, double glacial augments into the bot lane, and we also have the PTA from Eminem, so there's a lot of early burst damage and gank potential coming in for the side of both of these bot lanes. I do expect both junglers to be going there, and for Frank Esports, at least in the early portions with the Lee Sin, to have a little bit more threat.
Yeah, that's why Woody's going a little deep into the jungle right now to try and get that ward down. Does see that the Gromp has been cleared away, so information gained, even if they don't have exact eyes on Holo. Of course, on the side of Hana, would be expecting him to... Ooh, as Nesty is under fire here. Pretender, smelling some blood in the water with that laser. Going to force that back out of the Ahri. As we continue to see a few trade of health bars going down, that does shift things a little bit in the middle. Nesty still struggling a little bit right now.
This is a problem we have seen with Nesty and his champion pools. If he doesn't get off the ground early and he loses lane, then a lot of these sort of snowball-y tempo picks don't tend to work out very well. And I think that's definitely a case with the Ahri. Most of the times you do see her with the Everfrost build. Nesty prefers this build in most scenarios, and that's kind of a low damage build. So we'll see how this laning phase goes. He's forced to use a very early teleport here. And the lane trade, I frankly wasn't very impressed with it. You know, he burns his charm right in front of the cannon minion and has to take the full QE combo. Now we do have Holo unspotted. Let's see if he can catch out Leaky.
Yeah, Leaky did turn around before he went too deep into the brush. Doesn't have that ward down, and actually just going to take the long tri-brush path over to the Krugs, but he may be going in for a return lane gank after the fact. Hana going to show face in mid lane as well, but as I was going to mention before, he is going to take probably a little more time before he shows him in the lane. We do occasionally see those Viego ganks early, but you really do want to have access to that Heartbreaker in order to start popping off on your resets. He is going to take a chance and get a bit of counter jungling in, though. This is a nice chicken take. Nesty's going to cover him, and Pretender is way right now, so there's not much he can do to stop this as Holo comes in to find his camp is gone.
Yeah, really nice steek here from Hana. They did have the earlier ward onto the Krug, so they knew that Lee Sin was still on the top side of the jungle, and Pretender hasn't used his TP just yet. I love how our observers just love us showing us players who miss cannons. Like, this is one of their... this is kind of the observer just, like, dunking on
It's like
people.
it's like the observer version of like looking for the Wilhelm scream in movies, right? Like you know it's
Yeah.
going to happen at some point, and you just need to look out for it. Here's the dive. Speaking of looking out, Kurt could be in some trouble. Level 5 on this Gnar. Leaky won't have access to his ultimate either. But he flashes. Oh, looks like they are able to dodge a bit of damage, but not enough from all three as First Blood does go down. They juggle the aggro well.
Yeah, really nicely done right here. I love the idea of just roaming Nesty when Pretender is going back on that teleport. So they know they have a clear 3v1. They also spotted Holo on the bottom side too. So just a complete tempo outplay coming in here. And I think very importantly, the kill did go over to Leaky. He didn't have to burn any of his summoners. He gets that extra kill. And, you know, in these Tryndamere versus Gnar matchups, it typically is a very balanced matchup. Like, if one side gets a lead, it can swing quite heavily towards one or the other. And now we do have the Boots 2 coming out with the Berserker Greaves coming in from Leaky, and he's just about to hit level 6. So Kurt actually is in a lot of pressure, and I do think Holo has to compensate for that by looking to cover his lane a bit more.
If there's one thing that Frank have struggled with in this season, it has been early game pressure and trying to secure the First Bloods. They actually are the worst team in the league when it comes to actually securing First Blood for themselves, which of course, you know, by the opposite property, they get First Blooded quite a bit. Kurt himself has definitely been on the receiving end of that a number of times. Leaky already off to a better start than he was in all 3 games against PSG Talon.
Yeah, and we have to remember that, you know, if Tryndamere does get going, we have seen Tryndamere's just go for the second item, Hull Breaker, and start to split push away. Now, this is definitely a line that DCG could take. I actually think they have a very good 1-3-1. They can double up Hana on one of these side lanes and just start picking people off. You do find a stun.
Found. Yeah, Holo already taking a little bit of damage down there. Shouldn't be able to clear him away as he's able to Sonic Wave over to his own chickens. But Hana's not done with this yet. He really wants to threaten here with the Blade of the Ruined King. And he's just forcing Holo out of his own jungle. This is level 5 on level 5, and the Viego's putting out more pressure than the lead.
I think this was the problem we saw coming with the Victor pick being locked in from Pretender. I actually think Pretender's probably the better mid laner among the two, but in this matchup, Victor just doesn't do much. He really needs to get all his shards down. He needs to get the evolve on the Death Ray before he can start controlling his own wave, and that just gives the weaker jungle, Viego, so much more access to the jungle. He's able to bully the Lee Sin out. We're seeing a very clear split map situation here, but I fail to see how Frank Esports can really punish. They're going to need some massive outplays if they actually want to make anything sort of a dive happen here and see if they hit level 6.
I do think this is the lane to really focus on, whereas M&M and K2 have certainly looked a bit more consistent, a bit better than the likes of Kriskata and Woody. Meanwhile, though, we got to check in on top because Leaky is acting a little bit here as he takes a bit of damage. Hana's going to cut the wave off. Here comes the hard path, and they go in. Easy peasy as you like, and Leaky is going to be able to get the kill time 2, and Hana even picks up the assist.
Oh, that just has to feel so bad, and I have to give props to DCG. Incredibly well-timed on that one. They come in just as Kurt is about to go into mini. He doesn't have his ultimate anymore. He doesn't get the extra HP, and they just walk in as easy as you like, tag him with the Spectral Maul, and take him down. All they lose in the bottom side is just 2 turret plates, and if you look at the trade back from DCG here, they equalize on the plates. Alone in the top lane, they get the kill, and they also have the extra Herald. So a massive win for DCG.
Yeah, this is big. Holo's doing his damnedest to just try and take away as much of Hana's jungle, and Hana's just like, fine, that's okay. I can go ahead and farm off champions instead and try to get myself up towards the top side. So you do see the map kind of starting to shift a little bit, but the control that Deep Cross have, top side is so much better than what Frank are able to get done bottom. And also, the farm game is very close, and both of these AD carries have gone for a coal start, and it's so similar in the gold game. Kriskata's going to have that high value later as long as he doesn't get shut down, and so far so good. Leaky back up to the top side, 1v1ing now, a pretty significant CS and kill lead. Should translate to a lot of gold for Leaky, who, honestly, after a bit of a nightmare against Sanabi, I feel like he's certainly woken up.
Yeah, to be completely honest, Kurt definitely a bit of the weak point on this roster. So we expected Leaky to have a lot of free room, and I have to give it to Leaky. He's done so well against top laners not named Hanabi. He's done very well in the Leon matchup as well. while playing on the blue side. This is one of the greatest strengths of Leaky, is that he has such a good champion pool. He can afford to get countered. Ooh, Frank trying to find something.
All right, K2 gets the jump in on, but Woody is taking quite a lot of damage. Nesty around the side here. It's the 3v3 skirmish in the jungle. Woody is actually going to be able to walk away as Pretender. Didn't quite have the damage on him. Hana now running for the hills, but he gets caught out by the Sonic Wave of Holo. So Frank, with the element of surprise, do manage to grab a kill, but it was a very labored one.
Really nicely done by Frank Esports. I didn't think that that was necessarily a great fight for them, but they managed to get most of the damage in early. They chunk Hana out with the AoE, Chaos Storm just right off the bat here. So they're able to get a huge chunk of damage off. So they essentially force DCG, and DCG are kind of essentially down a rotation here. Holo gets the two-man kick here as well, forces Hana to get out, and he finds the beautiful flash Q for the finish up kill. That's a big stopgap to the snowball that we saw from DCG, especially from the mid jungle.
Yeah, that's massive right now because they really needed to start slowing the bleeding a bit. All started by Woody getting caught, but as you mentioned, kind of caught in rotation a little bit did mean that the fight looked a little bit scuffed. Kind of on both sides, but Deep Cross definitely not quite as much. Meanwhile, Hana hasn't missed a beat as he goes right back up to the top. And Operation Bully Kurt is in full swing, but who is bullying who? That's a massive Gnar against the wall, and Leaky is forced to ult to stay alive. Hana now on the run, but he gets Goomba stomped, and Kurt is just having a blast as he turns the 1v2. Pretender's teleport was not even needed.
Yeah, Victor didn't even need to go there. That was just straight up 1v2 win from Kurt. This time around, DCG mistimed the Mega Gnar bar. They thought they could kill Kurt before he got the Mega. Didn't happen for them. They run right into the Mega Gnar ultimate. And that tempo swing is going to hurt a lot here. We're going to take another look at this replay. Once again, they're coming in, but I feel like they got a little bit greedy right here. The play could have very well happened with Hana just dropping the Herald, securing the first brick gold here without them going through the hassle of risking the dive. I think this was... I just don't see it as worthwhile to save the Heralds for an extra charge on the tier 2 in that situation. And you could have just picked up a clean tower.
Yeah, now Kurt's got back on the board with the kill. He's still very down in the CS, but that's a lifeline. And, you know, not to mention, Clement, we have Frank Esports stacking on Drakes. We have an Infernal Rift already as they have been trading out when moves have been made topside. They've been countering on the bottom. That's 2 Drakes in a row. And Deep Cross are going to have to do something about it because, remember, this is a late game composition as it tends to be from Frank.
Yeah, exactly. And now we have Eminem.
Oh, okay. Chriscata getting chased down. Very clutch use of the cleanse to get away from the 1v1 and Eminem. There is a Herald push in the mid. Doesn't end up resulting in first brick as we are 12.5 minutes into the game and still haven't seen the tower fall. 2-2 kill still.
Point out right now that Nesty is going for more wave clear build. We have seen this in the Ahri versus Victor matchup. It's quite difficult for the Ahri to get out of lane because Victor in most cases can just trade through the minion waves that much easier. So Nesty is forced in a very low damage build, and that does start to bring into a lot of questions. I feel like in terms of the straight up 5v5s, DCG don't have a very good chance to overtake Frank Esports. They're going to have to play more and more into this top side, and they can't afford to funnel kills Kurt into Kurt.
Yeah, that's going to be a little difficult. I will say, with the Gale Force completed by Leaky right now, he should have a little bit of a timing window, and he is a little bit ahead of the curve anyhow, despite that kill going back over. Holo is going to catch out that Hana is doing red buff. However, Frank doing a pretty good job of controlling the area around the back of the Dragon Pit. A lot of vision invested, so they're going to have eyes on both Woody and Hana as they sense that one, clear the ward away. Chriscata quietly been farming up. He's a little bit behind on his Mythic, but not by much, as he only has 4 more minions before the Cole comes through. We take a look at the final plates, of course, 3 up top, not surprising. However, it was equalized by Frank on the bottom. As a result, the gold game very close right now, just 1,000.
Yeah, and taking a look at the items right here, we have Eminem, I think, correctly going for the Executioner build here, and he does need a bit more of that mid-game power to make sure that Pretender can come online a bit later here as well. So I do like the build for here from from Eminem, and we have seen this from him quite often. He does go for the serrated second just to make sure that his mid laner can't scale up to where he is a little bit stronger. And to no surprises, DCG are back to their old tricks right here. It just seems like Holo has given up on Kurt, and to be completely honest, this is kind of Frank Esports playstyle. They treat top lane as very much a punching bag and keep him on an island.
Yeah, it is a trade of towers, but a Deep Cross just get in there a little bit quicker to get first brick, so advantage them there, and they also are going to be able to get a side of Rift Herald as well. But Eminem is free hitting. He's going to get a tier 2. Look at how fast he shreds through that tower.
He's got the perfect guns to do so as well, coming in with the Shakarums here, doing massive amounts of damage, and this is going to get a bit hairy for the next Drakes here. I don't think DCG actually have enough of a lead to feel comfortable in the mid-game fights, despite them having the Ahri and the Viego. So, if we're going into these next Drake fights, I could actually foresee Frank Esports, even though they're with the scaling composition, they come into the Drake as a 5-man, they force a fight, and if they get a decisive one, they could just wipe DCG off the map. So, the next two Drakes, the next one right now is going to be super critical. For Frank Esports, control your Mega Gnar bar, make sure you stay as 5, nobody gets picked off, you hold your ground, and you should have a very decided advantage.
I'll see if they can pull it off, looking for the setup 10 seconds until the dragon spawns. You saw the gold difference too, Eminem, 1,000 to him alone, just on those towers and plates over the Jinx. Rift Herald popped in the mid, this is going to buy Deep Cross an opportunity to get in there. Should get the charge off. Does manage to finish the tower in the mid. Deep Cross have the inside track on the Dragon Pit, but they are not opting to do it just yet. They would like to bait Frank into a trap as they try to clear through the wards. Only managing to get that one in the inner brush there. And they are going to proc this dragon a little bit late. Keep your eyes on Leaky.
They need to make sure nobody gets focused down. This is a reset comp, so even though they don't have the best 5v5, they could still snowball this off the first kill. Here we go.
Okay, they get the start, and that's a big charm. Double knockup. They do lose Woody, but Kurt's already almost down to 0. A little zoned out as the rocket does come through to cut down a few more health bars. Stunned back against. Leaky is not able to get too much done, but he buys time for his team to try and get in there. That's massive right now on the reset. Hana and Nesty are looking for more. Pretender is limping away, and Kriskata is able to take him down on the rocket snipe. Well played for Deep Cross Gaming.
So well done on the side of DCG right there. The start of it was a little iffy, if I'm being completely honest. I'm not sure about starting on the Mega Gnar as your primary target. They didn't find the reset, but I feel like afterwards DCG actually overchased a bit and gave that opening over to Frank Esports overchased a bit and gave that opening over towards Nesty to finish off the backline. So we'll start this fight from the start. Remember, DCG win condition. They want that early reset, but they blow way too many cooldowns on Kurt, who stays alive. So I think the start of the fight was actually a little bit scuffed in that sense, but Holo isn't able to finish off the kill here. He goes down, and Eminem critically over chases here, uses his flash and Gale Force right in front of Nesty, gives that opening for the Ahri to finish off the kills, and then Kriskata finds the snipe. So I feel like, if Frank were a little bit more patient, that was actually a very good opening for them to kind of take control of the game. But they went a little bit too greedy, especially for Eminem's side.
Yeah, and that is something that we don't often see from Eminem, from some of the other members of Frank, but Deep Cross really coming out ahead on that one. They get a couple of kills. Leaky manages to do well in that. Nesty does well, and so does Kriskata. That snipe on the zap. That's just such a feels-good moment when you're able to pick up that reset on the back half of the fight, because you can start running wild. He's able to fire down the tower after it, and critically, they cut down the Drake stack. It was a little close, but they did a great job of waiting out the Sonic Wave timer and just trying to take advantage of that small window before he got his Q back up and available. So Holo just didn't have an easy way in. All said and done, Deep Cross in the driver's seat now at the 19-minute mark. They do have a 3,000 gold lead, and they've managed to stabilize what was going to be the advantage of Frank, which is that soul point.
Oof, and there are a lot of kills going over towards Leaky, which really opens up that split push avenue for DCG as well. He's now 3-0-1. Doesn't even need the Hull Breaker because he's that far ahead. Is going to go for the Navori Quick Blade. I think this is a much stronger team fight item compared to the Hull Breaker, it gives you those extra cooldown reduction, so you can spin a few more times for the backline. And, looking at the way Eminem has been playing today, the flash forward to chase down kills, I feel like he might have an easy time at finding those targets. Here we go.
And they're finding targets themselves. Holo actually gets caught up, but they do manage to get the charm into the combo as Nesty takes down Eminem, and the teleport comes in a little bit after the fact. Not even required there, as it's just a smash and grab for Deep Cross, looking for more openings on the map.
They know there were no summoners on Eminem, so very easy pickup. They cut out from the right side. Complete vision darkness for Frank Esports, and I feel like they're not going to be able to get that Athelios hyper carry online. This is the lethality build for him, and if you look at the Victor, he's also pretty far from dealing tons of damage. He has gone for the Everfrost just to disengage a little bit better from the triple dive, so he's going to be lacking damage compared to the Luden's build as well. And on the other hand, you have Kurt, who has just not had a very great time this game. So
no,
I feel like, yeah, Frank, if they want to get online with their big hyper carry team fights, we're looking at a very long timer. It's definitely a post 30-minute game before they really have a say in team fights.
Yeah, it's going to be some time, and I think Kurt as well is going to have a little bit of a hard time dealing 1v1 up against this Tryndamere right now, as Leaky is just kind of like fully online, as you mentioned, the quick blades. He has a stride breaker himself, so he has a lot of chase down potential, but in a straight up 1v1, it's probably not going to look as good as it did when he had the outplay topside. That really was unforced errors by Hana and Leaky. And now with another Infernal Dragon spawning in 30 seconds, it's Deep Cross that have the impetus and the inside track to set this up. Leaky on the bottom does have an opportunity to come in and join the fight, so it does seem like Deep Cross have built themselves into a very flexible team fight or skirmish comp, so long as they're the ones choosing the angles.
Yeah, and with Tryndamere being this fed, Leaky can kind of choose which area to flank in. You can tell that Frank Esports are a little bit paranoid about the right side of the map. They do send Kurt over to drop a couple of wards, and we are getting to the point where it's possible for DCG to try and fortunately still find him.
That's the hook onto Eminem from downtown, and he's just focused down by Griscata and Nesty. The rest of the team is easy pickings. That's a double kill for the Jinx, looking for more. Pretender drops, rocket dodge, but it just doesn't matter. That was beautiful as they set up the hook from downtown for a Woody.
Woody with the 200 IQ prediction there. Eminem gets the Gal Force, but he can't dodge away from the dredge line anyway. DCG get the full 3-man, and they're also going to take away both objectives here. This is Agent Kurt, but I don't think he's going to be successful here.
No, I already tried for the boomerang, but Leaky already smelling him on the outplay. Does manage to grab that, so with the 3 remaining members on Baron, not a whole lot that Frank can do to contest either side. So it's a massive windfall for Deep Cross off the back of a great fight. I'm loving the coordination between Griscata and Nesty. Let's take a look at that again as Woody set up the longest range hook that I've seen.
Oh, that was absolutely beautiful right here. And I did think he actually predicted that. He knew that Eminem would likely flash towards where they didn't have vision, so he sent his dredge line a little bit over towards the right side. Just such a smart use of the ability right there. I know the ability has a massive hitbox, that's definitely true, but I still read that as a prediction, a 200 IQ outplay coming in from Woody.
Yeah, and Woody has been a little 50-50 in these playoffs, right? He's earned a lot of critique because he has taken a number of those dredge lines that maybe he shouldn't have. But that was absolutely brilliant, and this is why we see him time and again on this champion, on engaged style champions, because he does have that killer instinct. Whether it is right or wrong, I think that is for historians to decide, but this time it certainly worked out. Meanwhile, the 4-1 is in full effect. Leaky, 2-level advantage on Kurt, is getting chased away as the Narbar starts to get built up here, but they can turn it right around, and Deep Cross own Frank's jungle.
Yeah, there's no way for Frank to really crack back in at this moment. Like we said, Frank Esports at this point in time are completely lacking in damage. They need that third item from Eminem to really have a say in this, and Predator still sitting on just the Everfrost. So DCG can kind of do whatever they want right now, and I feel like Frank had no choice but to sit back and just try to farm it up. They can't even get into, like, I don't even see a combination where they have kill threat right now against DCG.
They kind of need a miracle fight. I mean, I think it would come down to Kurt with a great Gnar flank. You know, we haven't really seen the big team fight Gnar. He's been targeted a number of times, admittedly, but we haven't seen those deep flanks. We haven't seen the teleports come through, and that window's kind of closed. And I think that's the issue, is that, you know, when you play a champion like Gnar for a team fight, it's risky because you need to have the outplay potential. You need to be able to execute around your Gnar bar, and we just haven't seen that out of him. Not in this game.
Yeah, he's just been put so far behind here, and I think for DCG, they're loving this game. You always love it when the enemy team takes away the 2 less important Drakes for you, and you get to roll onto a quad Infernal. That's always like the highlight of my League of Legends experience.
It does feel good when you're able to do it. I mean, they had to earn that first one pretty hard, but like off the back of it, it's just looks so much better for a team that does want to go for the outplays and go for the fights. And oh man, even the blue buff taken away from Pretender, he's not having a great time. He has had not a lot of mana this game.
Yeah, Holo next on the target. Everfrost goes through.
Oh, the charm, the hook. Oh dear, K2 is gonna be dead. After just a brief moment. Woody's sure to follow him after that, but I think that's a trade Deepcross are okay with because they keep the engage going. Maybe they shouldn't, as they get a little bit too greedy and they get pushed away. An even trade for Frank Esports.
Leaky somehow manages to limp away right there with just less than 100 HP. So another good catch here by DCG, and they're making it look so damn easy. Kurt had to burn his TP to come into that one. He did have his Mega Gnar, but wasn't able to save the rest of the team. And again, we're seeing DCG just walk away with the entire jungle portion of Frank Esports. We're going to watch this again. The charm does land across the wall coming in from Nesty. They finish off the kill on the support. They get the teleport here, and this is where things got a little bit dicey. You know, Eminem nearly takes down Leaky throughout all of this. Could have potentially found the kill, but doesn't find it just there. Somehow sub 100.
Bounty. Oh, he's got 700 gold bounty on his head. I mean, that's almost a tilter to not get that kill. I mean, that was a Gale Force difference right there. But all the same, it is still an even trade for Frank, which, you know, I suppose when you're this far behind, you do take those. But it was probably the best angle they were able to get. They really got a nice choke point to drop everything from the Victor. But it doesn't result in a whole lot of advantages for them, as we are seeing more chip damage come out of this tower. This should go down despite the Victor and the Lee Sin being there. So that's the last of the outside the base turrets, and Frank are going to have to find a miracle.
Yeah, they just have to drag this thing on even longer. So if we're looking at the objectives right here, the Infernal Soul will come up at about 32 minutes into the game time. And if we're thinking about that game time, it will have Pretender with 3 items. Eminem will have 3 items. So I think that's their next big play here, to try and delay the Baron until the fight is more just centered around the 32-minute Infernal Soul, and that would give it enough time to at least walk in with 3 completed carries.
Yeah, but Deep Cross have definitely got some good dragons for themselves to cut away the scaling factor. Also a very slippery team comp. Nesty gone for the more defensive build with the Banshee's Veil, but he's also added a little bit of spice in because there's a Magi Soul Stealer with 12 stacks on, because why the heck not? He hasn't died this game. So there's a lot going well for Deep Cross Gaming's side, especially from the carries. In fact, none of them have died in this game, with the exception of the Viego. And Hana's having a good game himself. He's been doing all right. A few oopsies in the early game up top, but you can hardly blame it. And now he's contesting on the red buff of Holo, has a 3-level advantage. That's what counter jungling can do for you.
I was going to take that down easily. For DCG in the next couple of time frame, the most important thing is to get the fight started at Baron. This is when you don't have that Infinity Edge done for Eminem, so they will be playing with the triple crit 80 carry against the 2-item 80 carry. A massive power spike for them. And for Frank Esports, I feel like you could give up your bot lane inhibitor tower, but you have to stop DCG from just taking the momentum right here.
They've actually got 3 around the back of the pit because Chris Gotta does so much damage, and Hana does make his way in, Leaky makes his way in. They're going to move away, and the engage is on. Woody does get the knockup, and he is going to be sacrificed, but will they be able to get the fight on? Oh, the rocket doesn't quite execute. Nesty, though, he wants it once again. Couldn't quite find it on the Orb of Deception or the Foxfire, so Deep Cross walk away empty-handed. They lose Woody, and that's the best-case scenario for Frank, you have to think.
Yeah, huge win coming in from DCG, but I have to say I'm a little bit puzzled by the angle of engage right there. If you're DCG, you can actually allow Frank to develop that play a little bit more, and your best angle for catching them out is actually not forcing yourself up the ramp. That's probably the worst play you could do in that position. You want them to walk down the ramp and then section off their front line and back line. That's typically how you would play it, but I feel like Woody he didn't need to engage right there.
Exactly. That's the issue, is that Woody has a killer instinct. The problem is he doesn't have an off switch for it. So he likes to set up the plays, but the team was not in position to work with it. I do think they wanted it, but like Criscata wasn't anywhere near it. Nesty kind of hard forced on the back half and burned his ult to try and get in position. Now they're going to try and set up a bit more of a death press situation. Leaky's not with the team, however, but I think you feel pretty confident that you can get the counter push. Now they're going to bring him back. As there is a control ward down, not quite fully. He's just going to keep starving Frank of jungle. I mean, just look at the CS between the two junglers, because Hana has been taking so much away from Holo this game, accounting for at least some of that level deficit. Nesty waiting around the side. This Baron already down to about 7,500 hit points. Nesty does dodge away. That's an ult charge burn. They are going to peel away from this. I feel like you don't have to show your hand here, Deep Cross. They do just let it reset.
Again, I feel like DCG are playing this a little bit. I think they're a little bit too eager at getting the engage on top of the red side. While it's not really necessary, you know, they can just fan out and keep themselves hidden in the left side of the mid lane brush. I feel like that's a much better catch position than the backside of the red. If you look at the backside of the red, this is an Infernal Soul, and it's a very open map. So that just gives Frank so much ground to kind of retreat back towards, and it forces DCG for Tryndamere and Hana to actually burn gap closers to engage. So I just feel like DCG, they have the right idea on sticking to the Baron. They don't want to play a split map objective. That gives Frank Esports a lot more outs. So I think that is commendable. But the way they've actually tried to set up these engages definitely could use a bit more planning, I think. they could
a bit more
play a lot more patience.
Well. Oh. Yeah, gold lead is plateaued, but it is still about 10,000, excuse me, and it might be more, as Criscata gets the rocket hit for the final, as Nesty lined it right up for him. Kurt on the run, and those Jinx rockets are starting to sting. K2 with the dodge, but he can't get out of the charm as he's pulled in. However, Nesty gets blown to pieces, but here comes Leaky to the rescue. Kurt is forced to shove him back and away, and Pretender is going absolutely nowhere as Hana chases him down for the double kill. That is the ace for 2, and they're on the base.
Love that play coming from DCG. The unexpected Ahri is always the most dangerous one, but the question is, can they actually finish this round? Holo is here in 11 seconds, so it will be very tight, and you don't have that ultimate from Leaky anymore in this one.
They do have a lot of damage, though. A lot of wave clear with the Jinx. Leaky, Hana as well helping out. They're going to be able to get at least one Nexus turret, looking for the second one. Here comes Holo to try and save the day. Leaky's low. Does have his ultimate. Should he need it, they're going to peel away from him, and that's going to be it. K2 can do nothing, as in 33 minutes, Deep Cross take game 1 against Frank.
Great understanding of their win conditions right there. DCG do not give Frank Esports a chance to go and contest the Infernal, so they make sure that they finish things before both Pretender and Eminem get online to their full power spikes, and they stomp Frank Esports in this game 1.
Yeah, early game there were definitely some chances for Frank to come back into it. I did like the Kurt 1v2 outplay. There was some signs of the skill that he has shown on that Gnar. There was a pretty good turnabout for the team. Bot side, Eminem definitely started to be pulling ahead of Criscata for a little bit on the turret plate gold that he was able to get for himself. And even in the mid lane, Pretender had quite a lot of lane